Welcome to the Office Latte Podcast, where we go beyond the boardroom to explore new conversations on life and career. I'm Erin Kennedy, CEO of Professional Resume Services, and wife, mother, sister, daughter, aunt, and friend. Now, let's dive in. Good morning, Summer.
Good morning, Erin. How's it going?
I am fabulous. And how are you?
Good. I'm doing well. I'm fabulous as well.
Oh, good. Well, actually, I was thinking about our guest today. I know you've heard me talk about him before, and I am super excited to just dive into it because he's pretty amazing. When I met Jay Jones, he's our next guest. He is a scam. He's a scam finder. So let me just quick read his bio, because it's really good and it's kind of better than how I can say it. So Jay's a multidisciplined creative leader. He has over 10 years of experience as a professional copywriter. So that's his job is a copywriter. But I mean, and it's still his role. It's his main job. What he does on the side as a superhero is just out of the goodness of his heart. So, okay, let me see. So he's worked with some huge brands like NBA, Converse, Liberty Mutual, Subway, L. Bean, Eaton, and more. He's also a heralded investigator who takes down cybercriminals who seek to defraud job seekers on LinkedIn. This is how I first heard of him. He noticed how prevalent scams were in the job market and decided to expose them. To date, he has gotten over 12,000 fake jobs and over 6,000 fake resume writers and recruiters removed from LinkedIn. 12,000 and 6,000. Oh my God.
It's like 1,200, maybe. That's right. Crazy.
So from this, he's also got kind of like a side business. I mean, his main business, of course, is copywriting. And he, like I said, he's really, really good. But he also consults with these Fortune 500 companies now, business owners, companies, helping them with their marketing strategies, writing, and reputation protection. He also helps them kind of figure out what he does is he takes that company information to see if it's being used as scammers, but I'll let him get in more into that. Yeah. And so anyways, I don't want to give away too much because it's so interesting. I got to talk to him briefly yesterday, and I think we could have talked for like 2 hours because, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And you said that he also has found scammers who are resume writers and like career coaches.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. Like somebody with a fake name, Ann Smith or whatever it is, but they're stealing resume writers' information. So like say and I've had this happen to me before. I've had this happen where people have pointed it out to me and said, hey, Erin, this person, one person, and this person is a resume writer that I had heard of, took my entire about section in LinkedIn and pasted it into theirs. They took my about section. No. They took my about section on my website, which is like totally handwritten by me about, because it was like so personal. It was about me and my company. Anyways, they put this in, and so somebody noticed that. Thank God, because
just impersonations at that
point. I don't check that stuff, but I am going to start now. But anyways, we've had, right now, I mean, job seeker scams are huge. Companies putting up ghosting positions. I mean, that's not really, that's kind of scammy. I think it's super scammy. But a client that I had a couple of months ago was hit really hard with a job scam. They were, somebody reached out to them through this company that is a company we've all heard of, offered this great role. They went back and forth in emails, and the client, so this recruiter that worked for this company was like, okay, so the company this is what we need. We need your social security number, we need your banking information in order to do the direct deposits. Right. And there's also going to be,
sorry to interrupt, before they even got the job?
Yeah. Like it was like they were like onboarded in and kind of saying, this is what we need from you. Okay. And also this like $10,000 that is going to go to, I know.
No.
Like, honestly, I would have been like, hold up. But for this client and the product that the client was selling, it was kind of like one of those things, not MLM, but you have to have this, you put into this product and you get
Yeah.
like 50, even more times, whatever. So this client did it. I mean, and this was a reputable, like a company you've heard of, but I don't want to say it out loud. But anyways, so the client gives them 10 grand and their social security number. I'm like, oh
Oh
no.
gosh. Yeah.
Sure enough, money's gone. Client, calls and is like, yeah, I'm ready to start, and couldn't get through to anybody. Couldn't get through. All of a sudden, this recruiter's just gone, just vanished, just
Oh
gone.
no. Also,
Then the client starts getting a little worried, like what is happening? And so they call the company and they're talking, can I talk to so-and-so? Oh, we don't have anybody here by the name. Well, it's
yeah.
about the job opening for, it was like product or something, I don't know, or sales or something like that. And they were like, yeah, we don't have any openings like that. And this is, anyways, long story short, this poor person got totally scammed. And it was just heartbreaking. Terrible, terrible, terrible.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was like, that is heartbreaking. Like,
it is. I mean, it sucks enough being a job seeker and like trying to, find a company, let alone one that you've heard of that seems really legit. So anyways, so let's just dig in. You ready?
I'm ready.
Jay, I am so glad you're here.
Hey, glad to be here, Aaron. Thank you.
I am glad that we met on LinkedIn, and you've kind of, you are a copywriter. That is your job.
Yes.
But you're also now this LinkedIn superhero, taking down all these fake profiles, these fake jobs, these fake companies. So before we get into that, let's, give me a little bit of your background. What got you into copywriting? How did you end up doing this? And then, start there.
Yeah, early on, I always loved the power of words. It started when I was 14 and I got into writing poetry and things like that. And so it naturally progressed into writing. And, I realized that that was my passion. That was what I wanted to do to help people when it comes to writing, doing things that are meaningful. That, obviously they move people to purchase things, but, more so it makes a tangible connection with them and has them, feeling better going forward throughout life. And so that's what got me into copywriting. In my most recent role at an ad agency, I was there for about 3 years and, unfortunately was part of a layoff. But, my passion and my desire for it has never stopped or waned. And so, that's what got me into it. So, yeah.
So I know you worked for some really big brands. I mean, you've got,
Yeah.
you've got an impressive background. And so what types of copy were you doing with those
I was
brands?
doing concepting or quick hitting punchy copy for brands like the NBA, Subway, was a part of different RFPs for Guinness and 2B, brands like that. I was the lead copywriter for Liberty Mutual, Eaton, Subway once again. And so part of that was, getting these briefs and disseminating the information amongst the team, coming to a consensus on what the approach would be, and then from there, crafting copy and content that was on brand, and then also at certain points push the brand. And so, notable campaigns I was a part of were Subways in the Sky campaign, which I created, and it was a giant blimp that went around 4 different cities in the U.S. And from there, it was an aerial dining experience, and it was a play on Subway's name because Subways are typically underground. So I thought, put it in the sky, and they loved it. It was a big
Cool.
hit, and so those are some of the highlights of the things that I've done.
Very cool. So I know that you said, you know, once you were laid off, you were in this state of disbelief because you knew it would be a challenging job market, but you said you really had no idea how truly bad it can be. I mean, I think, it's the job market just does this. But what you discovered was so much, you said, an infestation of scamming on LinkedIn and the job market as a whole. So
Correct.
what
Yeah.
did you, what first kind of turned your head to that? Sorry, what first kind of made you go, what is happening here? Like in seeing all the scams.
I mean, typically in the job market of years past, you'll always have the nonsense roles and things of people trying to pitch you things that are irrelevant to what you're looking for. But I noticed
Yeah.
that this was quite different because it was like, back in like 2021 and before that, you maybe get 3, 4 to maybe 10 nonsense offers and whatnot. But in this market, immediately it was like 95% of what I saw was fake. And I'm like, this is really odd. And, as I've said before, when I initially would be encountered with these scams, I would just block the people and move on. And then I got annoyed and angry because I'm like, this shouldn't be a part of the job market. It shouldn't be something that job seekers have to deal with. And so I
Exactly.
asked myself, why does it have to be a part of the job market? And I couldn't come up with a good reason why, because just saying it's just something that we have to deal with wasn't good enough for me. And so I decided to take them on. I decided to investigate it, decided to expose it, because what it does is it damages the credibility of businesses, real professionals. It leaves job seekers, disheartened, and worst case scenarios, they've taken their lives behind it because they just don't see any end in sight. And then on top of losing their livelihood, they get robbed in
Right.
addition to that. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Summer and I were talking about that beforehand, and I'm sure you've heard a million of these cases.
Hmm.
But how these job seekers, they hear from a big company, they hear from a recruiter from a big company, they check out their profile, it seems legit. And as they move on in this job search recruiting process, then they're asking them for their social security number, their, money and all this stuff in these, and, job seekers, especially if you've been in the job market a while, you're hook, line, and sinker, and then they get scammed, and a lot of them have had money stolen from them. Or, money that they thought that they had to pay first in order to get this job. And so it's really disheartening because job search is terrible anyways, but then just to
Hmm.
put this on top of it. So okay. So now, you're in the job search, but you're also doing your own gig. I mean, you've got a lot of copywriting, jobs that you're doing now, but so what made you decide to kind of really dig into this, into finding these scammers, especially, sorry, one more thing, especially profiles, because
Hmm.
I know you are finding people that are masking or masquerading themselves as resume writers. I mean, I've had this
Hmm.
happen to me. So how did you get into this, into that part of it?
Um, Not to sound too crass, but it pissed me off because I thought of all those things. I
Yeah.
thought of the damage that it does to so many people. I thought that, you know, what they do is when it comes specific to resume writers, they'll take information from their profile, either they'll piecemeal it or they'll copy it outright and then pretend that they work at some prestigious, resume writing company, or they'll create a fake one, mock up a logo. And then what they'll do is they'll discount the pricing of the services that they offer, but it's the same services of the real resume writer that they stole. But, so let's say a legitimate resume writer who has years in the industry, certifications, and all of that, and has helped hundreds of people, they've worked themselves into a position of charging X amount of dollars for a resume. But then here comes this Fiverr resume writer from overseas, and they take all of your information, all of your credentials, and then they charge 20, 30, $40 for a resume. Well, then obviously people who are
Huh.
in the job market for a while, they're going to jump at that price because they're trying to save money and get a quality result. But the quality that they think they'll get is from the information that they stole from a real resume writer. So, I've seen it where they'll either give you a subpar resume that they use ChatGPT to write, or they'll just take your money and outright ghost you and block you so you can't get it back anyway.
I'm just, I'm just speechless. This just bothers me so much, on so many different levels. Number one, I've had this done to me, where
Hmm.
I've had uh, other, resume writing friends say, hey, you know what, you need to check out this account. It's totally like, I've had people steal stuff directly from my website. These are other resume
Hmm.
writers too. And then, but I've seen a lot of my information on these fake profiles.
Hmm.
And, and also another one I wanted to talk to you about, because I know that you mentioned it, in your bio, was how people say that they work for you or they work for your company.
Hmm.
I have people, I go through there like probably every 3 months, and I see all these people that supposedly work for me, that don't, and sometimes I think, okay, maybe they just got confused. I do give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they just got confused.
I mean,
I don't know, but I don't know. But, and then I just realized they're just scamming. They're just saying that they work. But it doesn't mean that they're a resume writer. A lot of times it's like a whole different field, and it's just, in this case. So how did you go from discovering this to cracking down on this, Jay. You're the Superman of the scam finder. So how did this become a thing for you?
I thought about the scale of it, and honestly, when I started it, I was thinking like I had the doubts of, what is this actually going to affect to like because it's so pervasive and so
Right.
large scale, would it even make a difference? And I thought whether or not it does, it needs to be done, and so that's why I do it. Initially, I started with resume writing, pretend resume writers. The first company, quote unquote, was 10 Star Resume Limited. And what they would do is use pictures of attractive women and say that they were resume writers for this company. And then, because they use attractive women's pictures, it passes the eye test. It gets people's defenses down. They look at the profile of this resume writer, and then from there, they think they're trustworthy. And then what the business would do is what I outlined before. They would steal content from other real resume writers. I mean, in my cases against them, there were at least 30 or 40, 50, 30 or 40 real resume writers they stole content from. And they would all do it under the umbrella of that company, but they would pretend like they were the ones with the actual experience. And when it comes to what you said about people pretending to work for your company and being mistaken, that's not a mistake because they have to literally go to LinkedIn, add their work history, type in the name, see it come up, select
Yeah.
it, hit save. Like this is all deliberate. And I had a lady one time, maybe a week and a half ago, she had an incident where she's the founder of a resume writing company and she's the only person that works for it, but she has about 90 people on LinkedIn that say that they work for this company. And she's tried to get the profiles taken down, but LinkedIn has said that they can't take them all down. They have to do it one by one. And, I took it upon
Mhm.
myself to help her and I opened a case, made a profile, case notifying people about it. And LinkedIn said they just don't have the resources to take them all down. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my gosh. That's horrible. I've done mine like one by one where I reach out to them and I'm like, take this down. And honestly, it's worked because when you threaten sending this to like LinkedIn police, um, it has the majority of them, but I think there's only a couple I need to check, but there's, the majority have been removed. I only think there's a couple of them, but again, it's been a few months. So, um, I don't know, but it was a lot easier to get them removed than this poor woman. Oh my gosh, 90? That's
Yeah,
insane.
she's the founder of the company, and it was about 90 plus. And when you look at different profiles on LinkedIn and it says LinkedIn member, it's either because you don't have enough of a network in the region that they live in. So for me, it's like Pakistan and India and whatnot. Any profiles that are based out of there, I'll typically see LinkedIn member because I have few connections over there. I don't think they like me too much. But
Mhm.
if you stop scamming, we
They know
won't
you're
have an
after them.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. So, okay. So I know that you are also, um, you've kind of started something where you are actually being a consultant for companies to help them kind of weed out these scamming types. So what are you doing with that? Tell me a little more about that.
Correct. Yeah. So I call it the Profiler Protection Service. And so what it is it's an
Mm.
offering that helps businesses audit the people that are in their profiles that are connected to their company so they can use me to vet who's connected with them to see if they're all legitimate, to see what they're posting, see if they're even posting jobs that are actually connected to the company. Because I've seen, different companies like Adecco, Corn Ferry, um, let's see, Artisan Talent and multiple ones that are legitimate, either recruiting or staffing agencies. These fake people
Yeah.
will say that these fake people will list them as the company they work for and then say that they're hiring for roles when they're not. And they use the cachet of these real businesses to trick people. And, they've outright impersonated
Yep.
real people and, had verified profiles, but still were fake somehow. And, that's an brief sidebar with that is if a company is entirely fake and they join LinkedIn, you can work around the verification by getting an email through that fake company and being verified through your work email. So if as long as the company's fake and they're all in on it, then they can look real. And so that's what I help businesses, avoid is seeing who's a part of their business that shouldn't be, getting them off, making enough noise to where it has to be addressed. And they either, like what you said, when you call them out on it, they'll do one of three things. They'll either block you, delete their profile, or try to stand and fight and act like they didn't do anything wrong. But the exposure and the more that people talk about it, the more that people talk about it, the easier it is for them to give up and run away.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's happened in my case is that they deleted the account. So it was quick and easy and done. And I'm in a couple of resume writing groups where we kind of let each other know, hey, I think this is there's a scam thing going on. So we're quick to report it. So I know that you said, because I was reading your bio, before Summer and I got started and before we were talking about you, but 12,000, I think you said you've gotten 12,000 fake jobs and 6,000 fake resume writers and recruiters. That just baffles my mind. That's a lot.
Well, as of this morning, it's 14,000. So that I'm thankful for that.
Oh my gosh. So then how do you go about, I mean, these are huge numbers. So, I mean, are they just grouped together and all on one thing? I mean, how are you taking down so many?
Well, what happens is these scammers, they're in a network, much of them. The one-offs, they typically list, maybe 20 or 30 jobs, but the bigger networks, they'll list thousands in bulk, and they'll use job scrapers. So they'll go around the different websites, different job boards, and then they'll scrape the positions and then add them to these companies that are on LinkedIn. And, the point is they don't intend to ever hire. None of these jobs are real. What they do is they gather information.
Right.
And what I've recently discovered with this one scammer, Roshan Bandari, because he is one of the most lucrative ones I've seen out of India. And he posted not too long ago that he made about 440,000 in 2024 from affiliate marketing. But the affiliate marketing is an abuse form that he's doing, because affiliate marketing is legitimate. But what he's done is the job market and people searching for jobs is like the highest thing that's, having a lot of activity on the internet. And so he'll post all of these thousands of jobs, but with these different links, like a bit.ly link or other links, and they'll link to survey websites and they'll link to, like inbox dollars and things like that. And these companies are really, they're real companies and they want the traffic, but you have to give the traffic in a legitimate way. But he's sending these thousands of people to these pages and they're paying him for this traffic, but the traffic is wrong.
Oh my gosh.
And so
he's talking about, he's bragging about it.
I mean, but he doesn't say it openly, but he says it in a way that, because there are people on Facebook that have asked him how he's done it. And they've asked questions like, did you do this through, this legitimate way? And he'll say no. And then they'll ask another question and he'll say no. And in public, he keeps it really, cryptic. But when it comes to actually what he's done, his name is on different paperwork of different companies that he's made. And, what I discovered this morning, and this was, going over back many months, but there was this company called Juno Girl Inc. that was a toy company out of New York, and it went down maybe in 2018 because it just no longer was in operation. And so what he does is he takes over real companies' domains and then lists jobs under that company. So Juno Girl Inc. was real at one point, but because he took it over, he listed fake jobs on LinkedIn attached to it. And what bothered me was, why would a toy company have data entry specialist 900 plus times and have copywriting and UX writing jobs dozens of times? It didn't make sense, because if a toy company is focused on making toys, then you would see like toy creation, toy manufacturing, assembly, things like that are in direct relation to what the company does.
Right. Wow. So, I mean, has this guy been reported? Are people like this being reported to the FBI or to, I mean, there's got to be something that, can be done. I mean, he's made $440,000. This is just crap. It's just wrong.
Yeah. I mean, so stateside, there's only so much that you can do because they're overseas, and if you're in a corrupt
Yeah.
region or a corrupt nation, then, it's just going to be looked at, look the other way with it is how they'll approach it. The best defense is exposure, alerting people, letting them know the methodology of it, which is what I do. It's like if you see this type of format or this type of presentation when it comes to a job, then it's a scam. It's something that you should watch out for because they operate best in anonymity. They operate best when somebody gets scammed and then doesn't say anything about it because they're ashamed, and they like when you're ashamed because you stay quiet, and when you're quiet they can keep doing it to other people. But when people know your name, they know
So
what
true.
you do, they know where you're affiliated with, where you're affiliated and who you're affiliated with, it's a lot harder for you to operate.
So wrong. So this is part of what you do with your consulting business with companies is
Correct, yes. Mhm.
yeah. Hey everyone. Thanks for listening. Unfortunately, this episode is kind of a little bit short, just the ending, but a little bit short due to some technical glitches with our podcast software. But I just wanted to say that Jay was such an amazing guest and to please reach out to him for any copywriting that you need because he is amazing at jonesdoyoukopy.com. Again, his website is called jonesdoyoukopy.com. You can also find him on LinkedIn. His name is Jay Jones. It's also Jones Do You Copy, where he is accepting new clients, and he also helps companies kind of weed out LinkedIn imposters. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks again for listening to the Office Latte Podcast. You can find us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at Executive Resumes, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Office Latte Podcast. If you have any career questions or conversations you want us to talk about, send them to officelattepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll answer them in an upcoming show. Have a great week and stay caffeinated.